And a good big morning to you as we start off another edition of the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening and Real Estate Show. And I guess we can mention Jeff's property now, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you have the address memorized, we're good to go.
Yeah, well, I have it in my phone there.
Yeah.
I think it's 3401. It's 49th Street. And it is a nice home, was a home. It's an older home. But he used it for insurance in the front part for years and years and years. And his wife had a business in the back where she did doggy, daycare type thing, doggy grooming. And I think it was Pampered Pooches.
Or Karen's Pampered Pooches.
Karen's Pampered Poochers. Pooches, I'll get it out right. I've only been doing radio for 40 years. Yeah, this is my first cup of coffee, so cut me some slack.
So this is a neat building in the sense that, it's right off of 49th Street. So it's one of those scenarios where, if you're looking to try to get into an affordable place, because, the one thing I have noticed is this trend of wanting to have, starting out with a perfect office. If you want a perfect office, you'll be doing a lease. And I just don't think that's not necessarily, when you're doing a lease, you'll always do a lease. And when and the thing that you do with that is you never own it. You're always leasing. So if you're good with the New York City model of never owning anything and always leasing or renting something, then that's what you do. So, in my mind, though, if you want to get ahead, and who doesn't want to get ahead, one of the things you probably should be considering is making an investment in your business. And the way that you do that, especially since it's already set up for dog grooming, is you should try to stop paying rent as soon as you can.
Sure.
So in my mind, why even bother going down that road? If you're in a shopping center right now and you're making out your check and good, you could be making out your check and be thinking about next month's check already on a property you don't own. Well, why don't you think about making a mortgage and owning the building? And you can do just that at this property. So if you have any interest in seeing this facility, you can contact Stan, 727-423-4794, or you can call me at 727-254-7127. I know I've said those numbers fast, but that's 727-254-7127. And you can either tour the building and see what's in it and see if it's something that would be of interest to you. And I think for the right person who's looking to have a business or home office, that could fit the bill.
It should. Yeah, and I know she's made about $30,000 a year, and I don't think she didn't push it as hard as she might have.
Right.
Because as we all get a little older, we go, this is good enough. We don't necessarily have to push it. But grand business, I would think opportunity for someone who wants, even in a pandemic, people are going to get their animals bathed and treated before themselves.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And so that to me is kind of not only a recession proof, but maybe COVID proof, so.
Oh, sure. People will risk life and limb, COVID, everything in the world to take care of their pets. And I'm included in that group. So I throw myself in that bus.
Sure.
But it's definitely an interesting proposition. So, again, it's definitely, if you want to be on a busy road, and who doesn't want to be on a busy road if you're going to have a business? A lot of that is built-in business that you can get just by having cars going by.
And to me, it's even better than 19 because 19, you're going by too fast. It's hard to get to it. And often there's off and exit roads. 49th, you're going pretty fast, but you still are going slow enough that you can see signs.
Right, yeah. And there's a lot of stoplights on 49th Street, so the traffic is going to come to an ebb and flow as it does. So as it comes to that ebb, people can look off to the right or the left, depending if they're going south or north, and, they can see the property. We have our big for sale sign out there, and we have, but anyways, so, I do encourage people to do that. Anyways, so I do have some interesting, I pulled up an article, and I think your mic may be off now. So I did pull up an article that I thought was interesting, and, it was talking about, this is, of course, my background is, of course, in real estate. So I'm interested in real estate affairs primarily. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, which is in this new edition of the Realtor View Monthly, and when it says, the title of the article says, Love Letters or Liability Letters. And, so that got my attention. And
I'll take love letters for one.
Yeah, well, the issue becomes, and again, this is not happening ubiquitously. This is not happening everywhere. This is happening in really hot pockets, and no, not the microwavable kind that we all love with the cheese and everything. But no, not that kind of hot pocket. But in hot pockets of real estate, what's happening is you have such demand and you have such desirable property that when it comes down to 3 and 4 and 5 people who want the same property, what's happening is you have agents who have their buyers submitting a letter that says, why am I the best buyer? Why you should pick me over this other buyer who's making a comparable offer.
Because I really, really, really love it. Yes.
Right. The problem that you have with doing that, though, is because you get into a situation where you get into this mantra of where you're trying to have a scenario where people are. You could get into a steering issue, and the steering issue is that you're steering people to a property based on circumstances that seem like it's unfair. You could get into, well, I'm the best candidate for this, and then it could put the agent in trouble. So, yes, we'll get to the caller in a second.
Yeah.
And so, I just want to finish off that thought is that you want to be very careful with these letters. I understand the necessity of why it's done. Mm-hmm. But I also think you need to be very careful with regards to how those letters are worded so that you're not getting yourself into trouble as an agent, because you don't want to be coming across as if this candidate is better or worse based on any of the protected classes.
Well, often I do think, we can talk about that after we get through talking with Bob. Let's go to Bob from Earthbox. And Bob, we're glad that you are with us. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing today?
Oh, we're doing great. How about yourself?
Not bad.
Great. Well, hey, it's so great that to have on a loyal sponsor with us today. And one of the things I wanted to mention real quick, too, is that we had the pleasure of getting to meet and know your dad, Blake Whisenant, and what a fantastic gentleman he was. He just was so full of knowledge, so eager to share his experiences and how to make sure that you're having a better gardening experience all around. And I just wanted to throw that accolade out there.
He was great. I mean, I remember Bob, we could put a camera on him and he looked like he was kind of maybe down and a little bit out. Put a camera on him and boom, he popped up, and all of a sudden he was like showtime, and he came up with information, and it was almost, you could see this changing of his he was ready to do the show when it was time to do it.
Yeah, he was so sharing.
Y'all are exactly right. You wouldn't think you'd be sitting around and look kind of tired, and a customer come in and he would perk right up and just be ready to go. He just loved to tell people about his Earthbox and how it worked, and share his knowledge with them, and just had great people skills. Just love talking to people and telling them about his Earthbox.
Yeah. Are you on a regular phone, Bob?
I am, because I'm hearing a lot of background.
Yeah, we're hearing a little bit of background too. Which there again, maybe we'll have our master engineers in there are hitting things as we speak with. I keep telling him, hit it with a hammer.
Unfortunately, I don't have a landline right now, so I'm just on my cell phone.
No worries. We will definitely get through it. So I have some questions for you, Bob.
Okay, sure.
So tell us your name and your company, and give us a little background of how all of that got started, because I'm not sure our listeners really fully appreciate what you guys have done with the Earthbox over the years.
Okay, sure. I'll be glad to. We're from a farming family. Our background's really in commercial farming, particularly growing tomatoes, citrus, and a lot of cherries and grape tomatoes. Anyway, one of the concepts we had when we started going to plastic culture was the seep irrigation. And my dad always thought, hey, this is really a simple, very productive way to grow, and why can't we convert this into, something for the homeowner? And really, that is what the Earthbox is based on. It was developed by Dr. Geraldson in the 60s, the concept called the sheep gradient irrigation system. And we really just he converted that into an Earthbox and got patents on it, hooked up with a company. If you go to the Earthbox website, that's where they're made at in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Our website's earthboxstore.com, and we like to call ourselves the Earthbox Garden Center. But anyway, that's where he got it started, and we got a store in Ellington in 1996 and started selling Earthboxes, and it's done very well, and we've been there ever since. And actually, my dad passed away 4 years ago. He was down there just religiously every single day. You could not get him away from there. And I've been kind of trying to take it over and keep it going, and we've expanded somewhat. Like I said, we have every type of Earthbox products, and we're doing a few other things too, with doing some citrus trees and avocados, mangoes, blueberries, blackberries. We do 2 free garden classes every Wednesday and Saturday at 10 o'clock. Been doing those since 1996. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, Bob, we're going to pay some bills here, but if you would stay with us, we would love to ask you some more questions if you have the time.
Sure.
Okay,
sure,
fantastic. All right, well, stay with us. We'll be back.
The number is 813, and that's the area code 289-1860. We'll put you on the air with us, and of course the other number.
Sure, if you want to give us a call at 877-969-8600, you certainly can do that on the toll-free number.
Stay with us.
Want to talk real estate auctions? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online at aflre.com.
And we're with you, of course, to answer your gardening questions as we do each and every week. I've been answering questions for about 40 plus years. I worked as an extension horticulturist, worked with Gil Witten for 8 years. And then, of course, I went off and did all the other things that I've done over the years. And, of course, now we're here at AM 860, The Answer. And we're going back to Bob with the Earthbox. And Bob, now I always heard the story, Bob, that Blake said that there was a big flood one time and lost a lot of tomatoes. And he said, we're going to start putting even some of our commercial crop into Earthboxes.
Exactly.
Is that true? Yes.
That's originally what we were looking at. Is we're looking at really just growing our commercial tomatoes in Earthboxes. Mm-hmm. And we've done that. We had 9,000 Earthboxes at the farm, and we actually set them up organically. We're going there. It worked very well. But, yeah, we had a flood. I think it was in early 90s. We had 17 inches. And all our tomatoes, I had like 100 acres of tomatoes, pretty much just wilted. It did nothing. And we said there had to be a better way. And we started diligently working on the Earthbox and came up with it. And we can get pretty much the same production out of them we could in the ground. And but anyway, come to find out, it cost a lot of money to buy 9,000 Earthboxes. But come to find out, it's really a great fit for the homeowner. I mean, you don't have to cut your soil up, no water, very little water loss. And it's very productive. I mean, you eliminate particularly some of your soil-borne diseases, particularly all of your soil-borne diseases. You eliminate those. You put a good high-quality soil in there, and it works very well. That's kind of where it started. We were looking at it, doing it commercially, and we did do it for several years. Went through an organic certification and got them organically certified, and we were going in there for 5 or 6 years, and they did very, 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 very well. So that's kind of where it all started from. But, yeah, it was a flood. He started really looking at a way that we didn't have the roots in the ground so we could survive something like that. Say for this fall, when we had 8 or 9 inches, I'm sure those guys growing tomatoes had to be hammered with that. And
sure.
If you're in the Earthbox, you eliminate that problem.
Now, the Earthbox is made with recycled plastic, I believe.
It used to be. It is not anymore.
Okay.
They found out the recycled plastic would start to get brittle and not hold up as well as it used to. So I'm not sure when they did that, but they switched it over to just, I'm not a plastic person. I switched over to more typical type plastic.
Okay.
And the old original black boxes, we still have some. They're over 25 years old. They're still working well, but they are a little bit more brittle. But since they went to the other type of plastic, I have not had any of those go bad at all. I mean, it just lasts forever and forever.
Well, that's not, of course, 25 years isn't bad. I said, I've still got one with your dad. I had him sign the side of it. and it has Blake on it.
I do too.
And Whisenant, and James does too. So we were, I know, I treasure those more than the others just because every time I look at it, I see your dad's signature, and he pops up front and center in my brain.
Yeah, those are probably some of the old original black boxes. Like I say, they're still in use. I still have probably. There are a few people that want the old black boxes. I'm not sure why exactly, but we still have some of them around the farm, and we bring them in for them. And one good thing with them, they don't make the screens and the undercarriage for the old types anymore. But we have enough used boxes and older ones at the farm. We can always replace. We're going to replace any parts you need for any type of box. We're still in pretty good shape. I don't think they sell those online. I don't think you can get them from the company that makes them anymore. They've kind of quit doing that. So.
Well, you know what's interesting too is, Bob, is that I really wasn't that interested in growing anything until I wound up buying my first home. And one of the things we live in a small townhome, and I said to myself, well, I don't probably need any kind of container growing box or anything like that. So I'm gonna grow some tomato plants and put them in the ground. And so I did that, and then. The next thing I know, I'm on the horn when I finally did have some fruit popping out, and I said, Dad, it's all misshapen and it looks weird. And I, took some pictures and stuff, and he said, yeah, I think you've got some nematodes.
Sure.
And I said, oh, but it wasn't. And again, I'm pretty hard-headed, so I actually had to suffer through to learn why you guys spent the time you did making the product that you made. And and so now for those that are listening, they can avoid my heartaches and just trust me on this. And it's and again, like you just said too, a good quality soil. And again, to me, one of our other sponsors being Black Cow. Now, Stan, you've mentioned before that it might be a little too hot to put into.
Well, it's a little too heavy for the Earthbox, in my opinion. You could add. I've added a little to the Earthbox,
okay,
but not a lot. It's kind of down the center, like I might fertilizer.
Gotcha, because it might burn it.
Well, no, not so much. I'm worried about burning. I just don't want to hold that much moisture. I want a real light soil in the Earthbox.
Okay,
but soil, you want as light a soil as you can get to add as much aeration and oxygen to the soil. And still get capillary action where it can wick up. So, I think Black Cow mixed in with coconut husk or a lighter soil would probably work fine.
Sure.
But I like to go as light a soil as I possibly can and still get capillary action.
Sure.
And, unfortunately, your soils over the years tend to decompose, and start to hold more water. So instead of getting them heavier, which like in most of your gardens, you probably want to put Black Cow, mix it in the soil. Most of the earth boxes, you probably want to try to lighten them up somewhat over the years so they don't get the roots don't get quite so saturated. So
now, even though it's a self-contained unit, and by the way, Bob, I did have to pull the tomato plant up and show him what root knot and lance and spiral and stubby.
Funny, I had a customer call me yesterday. He goes, I got an earth box. I think I've got root knot nematode. I go, it has happened. It's rare. Like I probably got 800 boxes at the store, and I'll get one or two with root knot nematode. I'm sure it gets splashed in or carried in with a bird somehow, but it is very rare. But it still can get in. And once it gets in there, though, one nice thing with Earthbox, you can just dump it, put another bag of soil, and you're good to go. Whereas the homeowner in the ground, what are you going to do? The options aren't that pleasant.
No.
I know as a commercial farmer how much money we spend fumigating and getting the ground ready just to grow tomatoes. It's very expensive and not much fun.
I know that
you got to do it too.
We went to a point too of every few years. I think it's probably good to dump the Earthbox soil that you have, even though it's pretty good. Get another bag of Earthbox soil from you and start something again, even though the soil isn't contaminated. Let's say with nematodes and stuff. It just you can take that soil, throw it out around whatever in kind of a mulch, if you will, and then put a new soil in. And
exactly.
You're going to have better results because the people I've talked to that have had, well, my Earthbox doesn't work. I said, well, how long have you had it? Well, I've had it there for 10 years. Bob, we're going to hold them again for a little bit here. We're going to hold you. We got one more. Sure. We got a few more bills. We're going to pay the news people are coming on from SRN.
Okay.
We'll stay with us.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com. Welcome Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions on gardening, real estate, or both? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we're talking with Blake. Blake, wasn't it? Bob, I'm sorry. I would say Blake. I always think of Blake when I mean Bob.
My middle name's Blake, so I'm okay with that.
You're okay with it. Well, and your dearly departed dad was such a wonderful guy. I really did enjoy him.
Well, thank you for saying that.
He was tops. And, and the apples didn't fall too far from the tree as far as the kids went either. The next crop is pretty darn good as well.
Well, thank you for saying that also.
So now I know you do classes every Wednesday and Saturday, I think at 10 a.m. And you might tell people that not only do you have Earthboxes there, but you've got some unusual varieties of vegetables too, right?
Yeah, we've kind of expanded. Of course, we have all of the Earthbox stuff, our own special soil, our own special fertilizer. We've kind of expanded, and we sell lots and lots of plants to people with raised beds, stackers, whatever, in the ground. We prefer to sell them to people in Earthboxes, but there are some people not set up to do that. So we have 2 greenhouses, grow most everything ourselves. Also, too, we carry some other things we didn't normally carry, like, say, mangoes, avocados. We got our own special papaya, the dwarf called Tiara Hovey. My brother-in-law also, he'll go up to Nelson's, and we probably go through 1,000 roses a year. He'll go up and hand pick roses out for people. So if somebody wants a rose variety, call us in and we'll do our best to go up and get it for you. But also with the vegetables, I don't know where else that you can come get the plugs and the selection we have. Like, say, for broccoli, we got the broccoli heads. We've got a stir-fry broccoli type. We've got some broccolini, cauliflower, any or leafy vegetables. So we've kind of expanded in that area. And I do most of that myself. I really enjoy doing that, growing some different vegetables. Do a lot of passion vines. We've done blueberries for quite a few years. They can do well in the Earthbox, or we can put them in a 25, 30-gallon container. And secret of blueberries is be careful where you put them in the wrong spot. They're not going to do so well for you. So we try to grow whatever people come in and ask me for. I always try to see if I can grow some. I have them ready for them. We probably have 20 or 30 varieties of peppers. We got them in plugs or 4-inch plants, whatever you prefer. So onions, do tons of onions. So
those are all good for you too. By the way, when people say, what can I do to improve my health? And I'm always thinking, if you start growing some veggies and start eating some fresh veggies, as opposed to, I know people say, well, it's a French fry is a potato. I said, well, yes, it is, but it's not. It's probably not the way God intended us to eat that all the time. They go, but it's a vegetable. And look at that. I've got a piece of tomato and lettuce on top of that triple burger. And I'm going, okay.
Me and my wife, sometimes we'll have a meal, and I keep telling her, she ought to take a picture. We'll have corn, we'll have arugula, we'll have all our herbs, we'll have the lettuces, and we'll have tomatoes. Almost our whole meal will be stuff that we picked out of the Earthbox, and we do that all the time. Also, we're considering, we got a young man working for us now who did a little bit of chef school, and I'm trying to talk him into doing a cooking class once a month, but just go out in the garden, pick what's available, and show how to cook it, because we have all kind of stuff available. And we have a display garden with about 800 or 900 boxes, but when the stuff starts to mature, we pick it and put it inside and do put it for sale. So it's kind of unique. You can go see the plants grow on, you can taste them, then you can buy the plants. So it's kind of unique. So it's kind of cool.
I can't think of any other place like that, really.
No. Yeah, yesterday I had a guy who tried some Sun Gold cherry tomatoes and tried our orange grape tomatoes, then went in and bought a pine of them to take home, and then went and bought the bush so he could grow them himself. So it's kind of cool that you can do that.
Sure. Now you will ship them too. I had a caller call me at home a week ago.
We're not really set up to ship.
No.
If you're going to ship, it's particularly the Earthboxes. I hate to say it, but it's probably better to call where they ship out of. They're set up for shipping.
Okay.
We can ship some small things. We've got our own covers we make. Some of the irrigation stuff and smaller stuff we can ship, but our goal is really get people into the store, walk through the garden, look at it, let us talk to you and show you what we do. But we can't ship some smaller stuff. I mean, we can ship, but the cost for us is going to be so high.
Sure.
Whereas I think the Earthbox store there in Ohio, they got a set rate that they can usually ship cheaper than us. And we always want to do what's best for the customer.
Absolutely. Well, and I always think, too, that, if you can get people to try something, get their hands dirty, get them interacting with you, the odds of them understanding what you're all about are so much higher. And, the same thing goes for Stan and I when we're doing the real estate stuff, too. If I can talk to agents and be able to get them, to understand we're there to help them, especially with real estate auctions, the odds of them using our services are so much higher. And I see where that would translate directly to what you guys are doing as well.
And we encourage people just come walk through the garden. It's very therapeutic and good for you. And makes you feel good. You don't even have to buy something. You're just welcome to walk through the garden, look at it, and enjoy it. And that's kind of what it's there for.
Yeah, and people nowadays, too, I think more than ever, especially since 2020 has been such an odd year, they really do need a reminder of, the positive nature of growing stuff and life and everything out there, that everything is worth living and we will get through this time. And, it's, and why not enjoy your life as much as you can with an Earthbox?
And we have a lot of northern customers come down, and I'm assuming it's much easier to grow things up north. You just put it in the ground and it grows pretty good, but that's not so much the case here for vegetables. And
wasn't for me.
No, so the Earthbox really will help you greatly. We know how productive they are, and we've got a lot of experience. And once you get it set up, which doesn't take long, all you basically do is add water. I mean, on an as-need basis, and try to keep it as simple as possible.
Well, I know you have hundreds and hundreds of acres that you grow commercially grow tomatoes.
Yeah.
But it seems like you love that, but your real passion is the Earthbox.
Yeah, it's just nice to know somebody can grow something at their house and go out and pick good, fresh, good-eating vegetables. I'm not saying they're not that good in the store, but they're definitely going to be better if you can grow them at your house and eat them fresh. And there's something rewarding about that, going out in your backyard and being able just to pick something and not spend a lot of time and work putting it in the ground and then getting big rain and it's destroyed. So, you at least got a much better – you got the odds a little bit on your side in an Earthbox.
I mean, I know there's times I've gone out to my Earthbox, cut a head broccoli or two. I got the water boiling. Sure. I had the cheese sauce going. And there's nothing any fresher or any better than picking it yourself and harvesting it and eating it all within the next hour.
Like I said, last night, I mean, even though I got all these boxes at the store, I've got I got about 5 or 6 here at my house, my wife does. And we've got lettuces, arugula. Last night we made a salad, picked all the lettuces out of the box, put a little bit of arugula in, had some cherries and grape tomatoes. We made our own salad and just went out back, picked it, and brought it in.
Sounds delicious.
And believe me, that was very good, too. I have an avocado tree, too, and I mixed some of that in there, too. That didn't hurt either. So.
Yeah, I love my avocado. I love my carambola. I'm always bringing in carambolas to the producer board ops here. And
one thing, them carambolas, they produce a lot, don't they?
Gracious plenty.
My goodness, yeah. I mean, it's the amount of carambolas that I have received as by proxy from my dad having grown is amazing amount, but I'm sure there are, it's packed with nutrients and stuff. And that's the other thing, the angle that you were just talking about too, which is the idea that when you grow it yourself, you know what's on it. And when you don't, you're taking a leap of faith.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you can come in our store and we sell any excess vegetables that we sell inside the store. And I can tell you, I know right where they came from. You walk out the back door, you can see where we picked them and where they came from.
Wow.
And you know what's been done to them, and you can't get any fresher than that.
That's fantastic. Well, Bob, before we forget,
sure.
People want to get a hold of you. They want to get a hold of the store. They want to learn more about the days that you do the classes.
Sure.
Probably good for me to ask you that again, since I know that there are people that like to write stuff down. So feel free to say it a couple of times, because I don't know about you, but I tend to write stuff down, and I do it in a slow fashion.
Yeah, we're located in Ellington, not very far off the interstate, just maybe a mile and a half west of the interstate at 1023 Ellington Gillette Road. Our hours, we're there from 9 to 1 on Monday and 9 to 4 Tuesday through Friday, and 9 to 3 on Saturday. Our website's earthboxstore.com, and we've just updated that with several videos of planting juniors and planting earth boxes and tying tomatoes and a few things like that. And call us on the phone. If you can't make it on those, we'll be happy to meet you there. I think the number is 723-2911, area code 941.
Okay, that sounds good.
I know the last time I was down there to Earthbox, a guy came up with a sprayer that wouldn't work, a little pump sprayer, and he was ready to throw it away. And he said, "What can I do?" And I said, "Well, look, you're going to try to find parts and stuff." I said, "Take it all apart, put it in sudsy ammonia for the night." Sure. I said, but put it in there, and then call me tomorrow. And the guy called me the next day. He says, "I met you down at the Earthbox Research Center." And he says, "I tried your trick." He says, my sprayer is working fine. And I said, "See, little. I said, "No, that's." He goes, "Well, what do I owe you?" I said, "Well, nothing. Just keep buying stuff from the Earthbox because they're one of my loyal sponsors." And I know we get calls. When you're doing your classes from time to time, ask people if they ever listen to Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening and Real Estate Show, or if they remember Stan DeFreitas Mr. Greenthumb. And hopefully a few of them will at least remember who I am.
We do. I always like in the class ask, "Hey, where did you hear about us?" Majority of the time it's word of mouth and neighbors,
Sure.
But we have had several of them tell us, "Hey, we'll listen to Mr. Greenthumb," and the other one we used to be with Gil Whitten, and we used to get a lot of them from there. So
I loved Gil.
We do appreciate you advertising and getting the word out because I think we're unique. I don't think there's any place quite like us.
Right. Well, Bob. I'm going to call you Blake. Bob, I want to thank you for being with us. And
thank you very much.
Yeah,
you did a great job, as I knew you would.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in.
You. And if I don't talk to you all again, you'll have a Merry Christmas. And anything we can help you with or any questions, let us know. We're happy to do it for you.
Merry Christmas to you as well, and to all of your faithful Earthbox folks.
Fantastic.
Stay with us.
Want to talk real estate auctions? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online at aflre.com. Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial problems with flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
Well, I know we wanted to go with Bob from Earthbox, which we did, and he did a great job, as I knew he would. But I know you started on an article that you were kind of...
You mean Blake?
I said Bob. Yeah. I said his middle name is Blake.
I know. I'm just
middle name is Blake.
Now I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I know you. I know you, Leopard, and your spots never change.
Yeah. So before we took the wonderful call from Bob, I was just talking, as in a way to remind agents out there that are in competitive areas, in terms of, because there are little hot spots in where there, it's so competitive that, the buyers are literally trying to write letters in order to enhance the chances that the sellers are going to accept their offer. And the problem with doing that is therein lies an issue. Whereas, they start talking about their life, usually that's the most compelling reason why somebody might choose to pick someone is they'll talk about their personal nature of their life. They'll start talking about things that you really don't want people talking about too much when you're trying to decide whether or not to accept or reject an offer.
As such.
Well, if you start talking about race, religion, or familial status, then you can get into some unconscious bias, and it's unlawful for a seller to make a decision based on those types of decisions.
Makes sense. Yep.
So so what happens though is the sellers and the buyers in the situation, they could potentially get into trouble, and the agent who has a license on the line here, they potentially can get into trouble.
But now, if you told me you were a school teacher or a librarian or something, I might give you extra kudo points.
And those things are, the occupation is probably, that's not something that I would be too concerned about. But when you start getting into protected classes, I think that potentially could be, creating an unconscious bias, and that potentially could be an issue and actionable. So I think, you got to be mindful of that. And I think as agents, I understand the love letters, but I think you got to be very careful with how that's done, and you certainly wouldn't want to be reading them to your client.
No, I've heard of agents that just say, here are 2 or 3 letters that came in. You read them, see if that makes any difference to you.
Sure. And, and again, I think you have to, again, there are so many hats that an agent has to wear, but the education cap has to come out. And I think that's one of the times that you should sit back and you should educate your client about the fair housing laws. You have to be careful to let them know, hey, look, I understand your decision process might take into account a lot of different things, but here are some guidelines on how you can and cannot make decisions on, and you want to make sure that it's a very even playing field. I mean, again, if there's any hint of impropriety going on with your decision making, then you probably ought not do it.
It makes sense. Makes all kinds of sense. Well, hopefully, right now I think it's funny because you'll get people who will call in. I mean, even when we were selling a little property in Arapika, we had people saying, well, we'll pay above what the asking price is. And that person, of course, got it. And I had another person call me going, I'm going to give you $85,000 and I hope you're going to like it. And I go, well,
I'm not sure they sounded that smart.
Well, they probably weren't quite. I'm giving them a boost. Giving them a boost here.
No.
And,
I jest. The people of Arapika are wonderful.
No, there were some great people. Yeah. I enjoyed them. But, I mean, occasionally you get what I call the lowballer. And there's always a lowballer out there who goes, look, I can't become, they want to go, ooh la la, they made their first billion right here in Tampa Bay.
Or,
they decided to buy property for nothing.
Very good, Robin. So one of the things though, like in that particular transaction that I thought was interesting, and I'm not naming names, but one of the things that occurred is you already had somebody who had hosed the seller who didn't come up with the money in the transaction. And darned if he didn't try to do another end around to try to put in yet another offer onto the property.
I know I hosed you before, but how about I hose you a second time?
Yeah, like all of a sudden, well, that was like, come on, that was a month ago. Now it's a whole new thing. Well, of course the seller is not going to want to engage in another contract with somebody who ultimately didn't go through the contract before, But
Mikey told me it was his neighbor from New York, so it was all right,
Yeah.
Vinny.
So, well, if it's Vinny, then my goodness.
Well, then he's kind of connected, so you got to give him a little extra,
That's right. But anyway, so that's that's one of the interesting facets of that transaction is that the seller wanted a brand new client with who was going to be serious, and in that situation, and a lot of in every auction that we do. That was a pre-auction offer that was offered on that property because they wanted it right then and there. They wanted to guarantee that they were going to get it, and the way that they do that is they make a sufficiently strong offer in advance, and typically it has to be above the reserve price, or our seller is not obligated to sell it. And so, and again, one of the ways, and we're kind of different. Well, not kind of. We are different from regular real estate transactions in that you got to be pretty serious when you're going to buy an auction listing. One of the things that we do to make it to where you have teeth in the transaction is we make sure that you're going to put a non-refundable 5% deposit down.
Sure.
So it's non-refundable. So if you want to walk, that's fine, but whatever the 5% of the total purchase price, you are going to lose if you decide you do not want to do it. And think about it this way. It's an opportunity cost. That's the opportunity cost you had to put your hat in the running to buy something to be sure. And, and the same thing applies if it's an actual auction. If you're doing the auction and you're buying it on auction day and you're the high bidder, you're going to have to put a non-refundable 5% deposit down. And think about it this way. It's not just that it's a situation. It's incredibly unfair to the seller. The seller has spent all of this time marketing the property, spending the time with the agent, showing the property, doing all of these things with the agent, and then for them to just walk and get nothing would be unfair, because then you're back to regular real estate where, and it used to be, 1 in 4 transactions would actually occur, because you'd wind up getting, an inspection contingency, an appraisal contingency, and every one of these contingencies is really just another way of saying, here's a way to get out of the contract. So,
Sure. I mean, often with a roof or with a problem, or there's always something. Now, in ours, it's usually we sell as is, where is, when it's an auction property.
Sure, and we do get sellers from time to time that think that if they bring it to an auction, that somehow that allows them to hide deficits to the home. It allows them to somehow not be truthful and be dishonest, and that's not true.
No.
We encourage people to get inspections. We encourage, if a seller is going to bring a property to us, we want them to disclose anything that they know about the property, because we believe that an informed buyer is the best kind of buyer. And finding out that there was a problem with a property later, it doesn't help me get repeat business, and it doesn't encourage people to go and buy through an auction or sell through an auction if every time somebody goes through that process that they feel that they were cheated in some way. That's not a good business model for anybody.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, if you have a bad roof and you're trying to hide it, then I recommend, I don't care if it's $30,000 or $40,000 that you got to offer as a credit to get something sold. That's what you should do from the beginning, because you want to be honest and have integrity from the get-go. You don't want to have to wait until a buyer has, submitted several inspections and then the deal didn't happen, and then you were finally forced into offering what you should have offered from the beginning. That's not the way you want to do it. And if a seller is being dishonest from the get-go, that's a property that I would recommend most agents turn down, because it's just going to be a problem for you and not worth any potential commission you might gain from it.
But if you're interested in a pampered pooch doggy business where you could have somebody where you're taking care of dogs, two businesses. Yeah, and Jeff ran a very successful insurance business from the front.
So it's zoned commercial and residential.
Two commercial.
So we're talking about our latest listing, and this particular listing, you can get, again, it's got a very modest reserve. I believe the initial minimum opening bid price is $85,000. Very modest reserve. We're not going to tell you what the reserve is, but if you do want to buy it, you can. We are taking offers in advance, and of course you can call Stan, or myself at 727-254-7127, and we can tell you how to submit an offer in advance. We sure do. Can you believe it? Another hour has gone by.
Some people say the best radio hour, at least Mikey does in there.
That's right.
The best radio hour, the best hour of radio in the business.
In the business. There
Yes.
you go. And stay tuned. We will do this again next week, Sunday from 8 to 9.
Stay tuned for The Good Doctor coming up next.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com.